Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talk Recovery Radio. You're listening to us live on Vancouver Co-op Radio, actually 1 week behind schedule. I'll tell you more about that. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren Gaylor. Hi, Darren. How's it going?
Good. What's going on, everybody? Good to
What's
be
going
here.
on? Good to see you, Darren. Good to see you. Talk Recovery Radio comes to you live every Thursday here on Facebook World. And we're 1 week behind schedule at Vancouver Co-op Radio 100.5 FM, CFRO. Due to COVID, studios closed. So we're trying to make with what we got. And Darren, 7 years of shows, 7 seasons. They
I,
hundreds of
I
guests.
I can't even think back that far.
Yeah.
Like 7 years ago,
We haven't aged a bit.
we tried to have a conversation on the co-op radio station, and pretty much every week since.
Every
That's
week
a
since,
lot
yeah.
of conversations, a lot of great advice, good opinions, good insight, and so many of the personal stories over seven
Yeah.
years. Like,
Lots of personal stories, a lot of heartfelt stories as
yeah,
well. So 7 years of shows, hundreds of guests, and thousands of listeners. Thank you everybody for watching and hearing us on the radio. There's many ways to hear us. You can listen to us on iTunes, on SoundCloud. We've got a YouTube channel, and also some exciting news. Darren and I are working on some rebranding right now, so stay tuned in the new year. We're bringing on some new features and so forth. So I'm excited about that. Talking about what next year is going to look like and rebranding, and going to be going on Spotify as well. So going to be hitting that platform and hopefully some other ones as well. Try to bring issues to you on the full continuum of care, from harm reduction to abstinence and everything in between. Try to do a pretty good job. We got two great guests coming up on the show. Darren's gonna bring one on in a couple of minutes, and the second half of the show, people who have survived the drug war survivors. Amanda Stoller, who is part of an organization out in Abbotsford. We're also going to have people on the show in the second half that are still using substances and are part of this drug war survivors group, and we're going to hear their story. Who are they? We hear about them in the news. We see them, using drugs maybe on the streets. But who are these people? And we're gonna have a conversation with them and have that chat. We usually talk about hot topics right now. Obviously everyone's talking about COVID and this COVID vaccine and all that. And, Talk Recovery Radio is powered by New West Recovery, which is Canada's recovery community. So Laster and Westminster House are the providers here in New Westminster. And it's interesting being in rehab with COVID.
I couldn't imagine.
It's just this bizarre kind of like, what do you do? Do you go home for Christmas? Do you see your
Yeah.
family? It's just a really bizarre time right now, and people think of frontline workers as nurses and doctors. Like, you know, our staff's here. Everyone's working. Everyone's dealing with people, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people that work in recovery orientated systems of care just aren't even acknowledged when it comes to overdoses. They're not being acknowledged during COVID. It's unfortunate. So if you work in a recovery orientated system of care, in other words, you work in rehab or you work in treatment or you're a counselor, like, props out to you,
Yeah.
because addiction and mental health issues are just as, if not more, critical right now.
Yeah, shout out. Absolutely. I mean, the residential treatment centers that find success in their clients or residents, being involved in their community, whether it's volunteering or using the local rec centers, or you know uh, sweeping up their neighbors' yards. It can't have, you know what I mean? That's all taken away, and there's like this sense of like security measures now put in place to,
Yeah.
for even family, and everybody's experiencing this, as not being able to go see our families. But for the people in treatment that sort of like really look forward to those visits, or some camaraderie and outings. It must be a difficult time. And so, yeah, definitely shout out for the staff to keeping those places going.
Yeah, I should have worn I have a hoodie. Recovery oriented systems of care are essential workers, but I should have wore it today. So, two guests today, full hour of Talk Recovery Radio, once again powered by New West Recovery. Thanks for joining in, everybody. And if you're hearing us on the radio 1 week behind schedule, you can go to facebook.com/Talk Recovery Vancouver to catch our live shows streaming. Darren, who are we talking recovery with today?
All right. We're excited to talk recovery with Leslie Shapiro. Welcome to Talk Recovery, Leslie.
Hello.
There she is.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'll just introduce you. You are a podcaster.
I am a podcaster.
The podcast is called Secrets of a Sober Mom.
Yes.
Let's just let the dads know to keep your ears open as well. This is just can apply through the parenting.
I hope that dads listen. Oh, they need to listen.
No, you currently have about 21 podcasts on Apple Podcasts under Secrets of a Sober Mom. You're into your second season, and the topics of each podcast, I was going through them. It's not just issues with moms, right?
No, it's not. I wanted, I wanted to. Are we on right now?
Oh yeah, we're live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we're live.
I'm always on.
The genesis of the podcast was I felt that if I was a mom, living in a nice town where everyone was educated, everyone was carpooling their kids and big oversized fucking, oh, is this a G-rated show?
No swearing. Yeah, we're live on the radio too.
Okay. I don't know what happened to me since I stopped drinking. You think, it's kind of counterintuitive. I became such a potty mouth. I really don't know what happened to me. It's very strange.
I've always been a potty mouth.
A little bit, but it's been really bad. So, if I was one of those people driving, oversized gas guzzling SUV, and I was, struggling in silence, that there had to be other moms out there like me.
For sure.
And
obviously writing from a place of your own experience, that's what's kicking this off. But I think right across the board, anybody can relate to that struggling in silence, for sure.
Yes.
And having a different facade for other people, especially those that are trying to keep the family system together and the household, and like you say, the typical suburban kind of life. And it's a little bit more of a pressure to have a different facade. I mean, when I was bottomed out, I'm rolling down the street on a stolen mountain bike, looking as bad as I can be. There's nothing to keep up,
Right. Right.
I passed that point, but there's so many people that are sort of stuck in that, got to look good, got to pretend. So, what do you know what kind of feedback you've gotten from putting your podcast out there?
I don't know, exactly who the people are that are listening. I wish I did. I really wish I did.
Us too.
The feedback that I've gotten from the people who post reviews on the podcast generally have been people like myself, moms, living in a suburb where, everything looked, perfect and pristine on the outside, and her life was crumbling on the inside. And everyone has kids, and, the shame and the guilt and the self-loathing that they felt being a mom and being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that's my jam. That's
And you talk about on one of the podcasts, the entitled was, I just put in quotes, "mommy shame." Like, is this a shame connected to I'm drinking every day? Because I mean, I'm a stay-at-home dad, have been for almost 5 years now, and there's a certain amount of shame, even being sober and clean, that just comes with making the mistakes day to day of parenting, being at the end of the rope, sort of emotionally exhausted. All of
Of course,
like,
of
is
course.
it sort of both of those combined that we're talking about there?
I mean, maybe for me, really, the shame was um, that I was a mom and I was choosing, like literally choosing alcohol over my kids. You know, the shame was, was the town that after when I got my DUI, the gig was up. I mean, no one really knew. Everyone, knew that I liked to drink, but nothing terrible had ever happened. I mean, little things here and there. Um,
Can I
but the
ask
gig,
before you move on, how did you play that up? Sort of when you have to start telling the story of, being caught drinking and driving. Like, was it like just a mistake one time, or was that the sort of the kicker that got you to like share the whole story?
no, 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 no. When I got my DUI, that was towards the beginning of my spiral.
Okay.
That was towards the beginning of drinking like an animal and causing wreckage and pulverizing relationships, and so that wasn't a wake up call. That in
Can,
fact,
can we make that a wake up call? Is that sort of the essence of your podcast? Like, try to get into people's minds and hearts before it keeps going into a deeper spiral. Like, are you saving people from that, you think?
You know, I hope so. I don't
Yeah.
know. Everyone, I don't really like the term bottom. I know that it's, used a lot in recovery. Because to me, if someone's bottom is when they're 6 feet under the ground, so everyone hits a certain point in their life where they've just had enough, where they've just had enough. Some people, prison, thank God. I mean, I did not go to prison. Some people, it was really nothing bad at all. And they just woke up one morning and said, you know what? I have had enough of the hangovers. I'm done. Um,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, my DUI was not a wake up call. In
And,
fact,
and
I drank more because
Yeah.
I didn't have to drive. I didn't have to drive anywhere.
so for some of the moms that are listening, or kids that may be listening that have a mom that still hasn't made that choice to make some changes in their life, did you have an intervention? Do you have any tips on how you found the strength to not choose alcohol over your kids?
Yeah, it's funny. The last podcast was about the power of choice,
Mm.
um, and how many people think that we choose to do this to ourselves. We choose to destroy our lives. We choose this, and we really don't. If you want to get into the science of it, which I'm not going to right now, but you know, basically, your brain is hijacked. Your brain is hijacked. The wires are going haywire. You're not able to you're sick. It's alcoholism, addiction. It's a mental illness, which I don't think a lot of people realize, so
The approach.
yeah.
Like, what was the approach that kids could make?
I'm sorry.
Like, did they say, "Mommy, go to rehab"?
Oh, so
Like
I mean, oh God, for a long time, my husband and I were separated at the time. And I was very close with my family and had close friends. I was really lucky. I was privileged to have many, many people around me that loved me very much. And I was in complete denial. And my parents many times, and my sister, and my kids even, you know please mommy stop, please mommy stop, why are you doing this? And there was nothing. I mean, anyone knows there is, until you are ready, whatever brings you to that place of surrender, There's nothing anyone can do. But I love my kids fiercely.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, and at a certain point, my kids were taken from me and they had to stay with my ex-husband. Actually, we were just separated at the time, and I was not allowed to see my kids. You know, Stephen had to be physically in the room to supervise my visits. They weren't allowed to sleep in my home. And I knew that if I had to get sober if I wanted my kids. And, and I didn't want to die. I
I have a
didn't want to
question
die.
for you there. There's a
Yes.
big push in Canada um, for people who use substances, whether it's alcohol, heroin, crack, whatever the case may be, to make it impossible to take kids away based on a parent using drugs. So
Hmm.
you had your kids taken away for alcohol use.
I
Do you think what do you think of that? I mean, I'm not a mom. I'm Uncle G to some beautiful young Michael and Dylan, and I just love them to death. I just can't imagine, having kids taken away. And I'm Uncle G. You're a
Yeah,
mom. Was it a good thing that they took your kids away? Was
you
it a
know
bad
what?
thing?
It was. Now, it wasn't, we weren't,
It
Stephen
was
didn't.
it was good, bad.
It was good that they were
Okay.
taken from me. It was good because they were in danger. Oh, the things that I did, when they were with me, you know, I would black out at 6 o'clock at night. And my 10-year-old son was putting my, 4-year-old daughter to bed. I did, they were in danger. Now, he never took me to court, and a judge never said, you cannot be around your kids. What happened was, I don't even know what they call it these days. And I don't know what they call it in Canada. It was like family services,
Yeah.
DIFUS.
Mhm.
Someone had made, and to this day, I don't know who it is. I have a feeling, I don't know, but I don't know. Someone made an anonymous call because everyone knew at this point, to family services. And I literally got a knock on my door one day. And, they said someone called us and they looked around, my home, and it was awful. And I was given an ultimatum. You either get help or your kids are going. And I
Did
had
you
every chance in the book.
did you drink that day after?
Oh, of course.
See, it's
I was
amazing.
probably, at that point, I was drinking probably, all day, but I just had like a buzz going. It wasn't until the night that I was really obliterated. I mean,
Mm.
the very, very, very end, I was just a mess 24 hours a day. But she gave me chances. I'll go to an outpatient. I went to 2 outpatients and I cheated and I got kicked out of outpatient. Try another outpatient. And I finally went to rehab, kicking and screaming. Kicking and screaming. I did not want to go to rehab. If I was going to go to rehab, it was going to be in Malibu with good weather and palm trees
Yeah.
and good food. I mean, that's where my head.
Yeah. I remember, Darren, I got one more question, then I'll let you finish this off. There's big conversation, especially on Facebook and Twitter, the wine drinking moms and the different, their state of privilege and, inner cities. It's, there is no wine drinking moms. It's, crack or heroin.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's going on in this? A lot of people think mom clubs that drink wine, it's no big deal, but you got somebody drinking wine every single day. Like, is there a difference?
Well, first of all, there's, you know, addiction does not discriminate. So, they tell you Park Avenue to Park Bench, your circumstances in your life. And this is a big part of my story and what I talk about a lot. But, people have different circumstances in their life, but addiction, is addiction. And the whole mommy wine culture thing, it's a thing. It is a thing. And, I wasn't really, believe it or not, I wasn't really a part of that. I mean, my friends and I, every once in a while, if we had a play date with the kids and it was dinner time, yeah, we would have a glass of wine. but my friends didn't drink the way I did. Like I was the only alcoholic out of my friends. My friends were normies. They drank like normal people. And I just wasn't part, and I just wasn't part of that, oh, I had a hard day. Mommy needs her, mommy juice, mommy needs a break. That's not, it exists. I know it goes on and it exists. And I think to glamorize alcohol in any way, is not so great. I think that if you're a stressed out mom, and you want to unwind at the end of the day, but, with a few of your friends or your husband or whomever, go ahead, go ahead. If you're not an alcoholic, go ahead. And I think that most of the women who participate in the mommy wine culture probably are not alcoholics, to be honest with you.
It's interesting. We've been having this, a similar themed conversation, especially over the holidays, like just how different, the category of alcohol specifically is, with opening up about it and having the conversations of problematic drinking, when you're surrounded by people who are using the same thing, but not in that same way, which you couldn't say with like really cocaine or heroin or anything like that. Like it's a special thing, which forces more people to sort of go indoors with it, right?
Right.
And deny it. So this is such an important conversation, such an important topic. And what, like, do you think, I mean, maybe it's your own experience, you can only speak from here, but like, is it having kids? Is it the pressures and responsibilities of keeping the family dynamic, you think, that augments someone's drinking? Or is it just a bunch of unresolved stuff from the past, and now all of this, pressure of family and kids is just on top?
That promote that is the catalyst for mommy wine culture, or just in general to
Just
make someone drink?
In this category of moms suffering in silence,
Right,
right. Do you think for the most part there's therapy needed, or do they just need a little help and support, and like, to stop the damage that they're obviously continuing to drink over?
My story, my situation, and I'm just speaking for myself.
Sure.
Could I ask you guys, I should have asked you this off air, and it's either yes or no, and you don't have to answer. Are you guys in recovery?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I should have known that, right?
Yeah, I literally rode a
Research.
stolen bike through my hometown.
Oh, right. That's right. You just told me that. Right. I have such COVID brain. Right. You just told me that. I drank because I was an alcoholic, period, end of discussion. And I happened to be a mom of 3 kids. I think that my drinking, my alcoholism started way before the actual drink. It was my alcoholic thinking of always wanting more and wanting better and trying to fill my life with material things. Why I wanted that? I'm still working on that. I'm absolutely still working on that. But if I'm being honest, I didn't drink like an animal because I was taking care of my kids and I felt the pressures of being a mom and being a what? No, I drank because I was an alcoholic.
So we're speaking with Leslie Shapiro here on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, Secrets of a Sober Mom. For all the moms who have felt chained to their bottles, who are suffering in silence as we did, for the moms who put on a mask every day for those around them, for the moms who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, you are in the right place. Come on in. That's what I think we need to hear. If and when, again, based on your own experience, the mom stops drinking, it was such a crutch. It was that end of the day escape. It was that, how do I get through this, sort of solution. what are then the ways of acquiring that same state without the drink?
Mm. God.
That's
Yeah,
a good question. I'm gonna have
yeah,
a sip of my coffee on
yeah,
that
that's a good
one.
question. I'm going to take a sip of my
I think
water.
it's so important because I mean, anybody in any form of addiction, okay, if I give that up, then what? Right. And
Right.
if you talk to somebody, you know, in the latter part of their recovery, it's my life is amazing. It's so much better. I'm so much, you know what I mean? But what's that spot where I've just given up my only known solution? Okay, it's
Right.
causing problems, but it was letting me escape. To now what? You know what I mean? Is it yoga? Is it meditation? Is it other women? Is it?
Yeah. It's absolutely connecting with other alcoholics,
Okay.
being of service. Um, you know, AA, you know, I have an AA background. AA saved my life. I think that there are many paths to recovery, but AA is where I started. Um, and you know, I think living in the 12 steps um, is crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I mean,
And
it's a good little structure. It's a good little system.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know,
And you're also in a write up. It's sort of an invitation whether you've been sober for 10 minutes, 10 years, or not sober at all. And I think, you know, this is sort of always been what's lacking, is that ability to have a conversation, or you know, to get this inside of our heads, you know, before it gets really really bad. And you know, to, oh, I can't, you know, invest in this until I've made the decision. And it's just like, just come in, just start having the
yeah,
conversation. And I love the fact that the podcast can reach so many, obviously. No matter where anybody is right
I
now,
know. Amazing.
you know, with Secrets of a Sober Mom, like I said, I think 21 podcasts so far of very relatable content.
Right. Well, that was exactly what we wanted to do. I felt that. Well, let's go back up. For me, when I first got sober, to hear stories from others, you know, oh my God, you did that too. Oh my God, you did that too. You hid your bottles there too. You drank in the shower too. You did that to your kid too. I mean, to it made me feel, I still felt ashamed, I still felt guilty, but it made me feel less alone.
Yeah.
It made me feel less alone. So we, you know, we there's a lot of meat and a lot of good information in the podcasts, but they're filled with stories.
Yeah.
And you know, that's, and with those stories, you know, we hope to make anyone, moms, you know, feel less alone
Yeah.
and
Like you said, connect.
connect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to hear something that I thought only I could have, you know, gone so low to do. I don't necessarily feel, you know, relieved of that, but like you said, it's that, you know, I'm not burdened by the idea that I am the worst and the only worst person. And if we can say anything, you know, to our listeners and viewers, is there's nothing anybody out there that's done that nobody else can either top or relate to, you know, which is the best gift from listening to other people,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know. And so anybody listening, watching, check out Secrets of a Sober Mom. And it's Apple Podcasts?
It's Apple, Spotify,
Okay,
a lot of
Spotify, yeah.
platforms. Yep.
And you have a website as well?
We are in the middle of putting together a website, but it's the beginning. You could go and leave a message. And we're also in the middle of creating uh, an email so people could contact us directly. There was a little revamp. I started alone last season, and my editor producer, had some ideas to change it up a little bit. So I have a co-host now.
Great.
So season 2 started with a co-host.
Right. Oh, her name is Vanessa.
And
Merlini?
her name is Vanessa Merlini. She's just, oh, I adore her. Adore her. Adore.
I mean,
She's
why
the
do
best.
anything alone? Why do anything by yourself?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Leslie Shapiro. Again, Secrets of a Sober Mom podcast. Check it out. Thanks for coming on Talk Recovery with us today.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Okay.
Leslie.
Thanks.
This is still Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, and also Facebook Live. And it looks like we got our next guest up here.
We do. Yes, we're going to continue talking recovery. Just getting them to unmute. Perfect. They've unmute, and they're practicing COVID safe distancing there. So I think Amanda's somewhere in the video. There you are, Amanda. How's it going? Let's get a test on your mic there. Oh, can't hear you.
In a second.
Oh, we pulled something.
Oh, yay, we got you. All right, we are continuing on with Talk Recovery Radio. You can catch us every Thursday, noon to 1. If you're on the radio, you're listening to a show from the previous week because we rebroadcast on Vancouver Co-op Radio. And you can replay all of our shows.
You're gonna put me up. Oh, that's great.
Okay, I think we got, yeah.
We're-
You
got
got
some
very
navigation.
nice
Can you see
shoes.
me?
Very nice shoes.
I know, that's all you see is Converse. Here, I'll move
Okay.
back. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, well, definitely can hear you.
Okay, good. Here I am. I'm in full body now.
Excellent.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good
Karen.
to see you. Welcome to the show, Amanda, and we'll get introduced to your guests that are with you. We're talking to survivors of the drug war. It's an organization that's out of Abbotsford, and the whole idea of drug war survivors. Tell us what that is, Amanda. Your role is coordinator for drug war survivors. So Amanda, thanks for being on the show. And let's get an introduction to who you're with in there before we move on. Let's do that first.
Oh, absolutely. This is Holly, and Holly is our peer coordinator. She just recently stepped into that role, and she can speak more to that after. This is her assistant, Andrea. And then we have Brad. And then we have Brad here. Brad is also with our security here at the Warming Market.
Okay, nice to meet you all. Thank you for being on the show. We want to know what this is. What is Drug War Survivors, Amanda?
Well, it's a group of folks with lived and living experience. I've been newly in the role for the last 6 months as a project coordinator. And Drug War Survivors was, I believe, 13 years ago. 13 years ago. Yeah, 13 years ago, a group of folks come together and they started coming together and having protests and standing up for their rights. And also they moved into a direction where helping with the homeless. And they also, there's another group of folks that came out of it called BEEP. And they're a business ambassador program. So they go out in community. And I guess the mission that Drug War Survivors is like conversations among friends. And so they collaborate in the community, handing out harm reduction, distributing naloxone kits. There's definitely many leaders. We have Connie out in Chilliwack. We have folks out in Mission. We also have a youth organization too that's called Now, and they speak to having safe places and dialogues regarding drug use. And Holly and Brad and Andrea been here a lot longer than me. I'm like the new girl on the block. And I came in hot from New West.
Yes.
And we all know a little bit about my background and also with my lived experience. And so I'm definitely a fit. But how about if we speak to Andrea and Holly and let them speak to a little bit more of DWS?
Yeah, I have a question for our viewers and listeners. And I actually don't have a thorough understanding. Drug War Survivor, I get that it's an organization that does these services, but what is an actual drug war survivor? And what does that mean?
Actually, I'd like to jump
Yeah,
in.
let Brad
Okay,
talk.
sure.
Hi, glad to be with you guys. Thank you.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good,
um,
thanks.
You know, one thing that I'd like to say is like we are an advocacy and an awareness group, and we do like to provide that bridge between the powers that be, and like those people that are in need of those services, like the marginalized, the street entrenched people are generally left without a voice. So like like it's really important that we have people like Amanda to go to go and have those discussions where we can't normally reach from the street corners to the powers that be. So one thing that we have had over the past is we've had some opposition with respect to finding places for people to come together and celebrate holidays and festivities. And this time of year is really tough for a lot of folks that obviously can't always make it to the next meal. So we try to provide warmth and food on a regular basis. But what's really exciting right now is we've got this space available to actually allow people to come in and enjoy a meal and be warm for a daytime center. It's an absolutely new it's a new thing for here in Abbotsford. We haven't had this kind of an opportunity. So it's kind of like a Christmas gift for us to be able to forward that gift, right? Like and we've got Amanda and Andrea and Holly are busy putting gift bags together and things for people in the community, and we have people here making preparing food and different things. Myself,
We'll brag about you.
really quickly, I was on the street myself, and I had some really depressing experiences where I wasn't really feeling that I was able to find any comfort with I kept getting closed doors, and then now I've had some time where I've had a purpose, and being given a little bit of a responsibility is given me like a reason to get up and get excited about
Yeah, getting purpose in life is always a way to start your day with some
Nice.
hope that it's going to be a good day. Brad, do you mind if I ask, are you a current substance user that uses the services and the harm reduction? And if you don't want to answer that, that's cool.
No, I can
Okay.
definitely mention that. I'm currently on an OAT therapy. It's opiate replacement therapy. OAT. Okay.
Yep. There's
So,
lots of different terms for it
yeah,
nowadays.
so
Okay.
I'm on a product which is called it's called Metadol D. It's a methadone sort of derivative, right? And that's been going well for me. I've been stabilized for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
Right on.
In the past, I was a user of crystal meth and fentanyl, and of course, another thing was not having access to resources. At one point, that would have been really harmful for me. Like I was at risk of overdosing, and even the places that purported to be services for people like the drop-ins that were with the safe injection sites were not available at the time when I was on the street. So now I don't need access to those services per se anymore, but it's still important for me to have a role in participating in that, because having people being safe and being clean and hygienic is so crucial, right? It's
Yeah. Well, it's all about working on someone's strengths to get them through to better health outcomes. Congratulations on being on a 6-month journey of recovery of your choice and so forth. I'm sorry I don't remember the other names that were on the other side of the room there.
Well, we have Andrea and Holly. This is
Andrea and
Andrea.
Holly. Hi, Andrea and Holly. I'm going to go right to social media has benefited and also harmed the conversation of healthcare when it comes to addiction and so forth. There's lots of opinions out there. One of the main ones is harm reduction enables drug use. The idea, I work in a healthcare facility. I'm not a counselor by any means, but I think I play a role somewhere in there. How does that feel when people set the record straight for some of our viewers and listeners? Like, what is it that you're doing there, and how is it helping people? And what do you say to people that say, what, this is just enabling people?
Well, with us, we're trying to give out safe, supplies for users to use, and so that they're not sharing, like for instance, with needles and stuff like that. People were catching HIV and AIDS and Hep C. So it's like we have that aspect of it where they get free, or they get needles for free, and they don't have to use their each other's needles. So that's a good thing. Yeah. Also, it helps to spread now that we have COVID too. So now we have that aspect of things where they each get their own, whether it's a straight pipe or a bubble or syringes or tinfoil. They get their own, and we stop that from happening where people catch any diseases or anything like that. And then also COVID.
I think it's important too that we have a place for people to start the conversation, which it may start out with enabling a person per se. You could look at that on the surface and say, yeah, we're enabling people to have less consequences as a result of their addiction. However, we're also providing an opening for them to come in and feel safe and discuss. Harm reduction begins at the level of, the distribution of the safe supplies, and it ends at, reducing the harm by, abstinence on the other end of the spectrum. And of course, there's room for all kinds of steps in between. I think it's really important that we accept people where they are and show them that there is actually a light at the end of the tunnel. And if I have people that were clean, that would come back and take their time to bring me things to make sure that I was still safe when I was on the street, that gave me some hope that, hey, you know what? There's not a lot of people in their world that are actually clean and, they know and recognize as one of their own peers. And if they can see people that are like from church organizations and from the municipalities, that's normal for them, but that's alienated from them. Whereas we can be on their level without having to actually be entrenched with them and give them some hope. And that's the harm reduction. It's a spectrum to me, right? Like it starts, like I said, with distributing the supplies for persons, but it's also prophylactics and sanitizer wipes and condoms. We're giving hygiene products. We're making sure that people are being sanitary. We're spreading awareness,
education and awareness on how
absolutely fundamental
to reduce the harms. I got one more question, and then I'll get Darren in on here. So you're in Abbotsford. This organization is in Abbotsford. I think Drug War Survivors is there's many different outfits. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I want to talk about Abbotsford. So Vancouver, Metro Vancouver, big city, open-minded people, downtown East Side. Everybody thinks downtown East Side, all these nonprofits. Then you get out to Abbotsford, and Abbotsford isn't the downtown East Side. Abbotsford isn't Vancouver, where there's all these different types of people. Do you have challenges because Abbotsford's a small town? There's a lot of small towns across Canada, including the US, where people are dying, and city council, people that make decisions in those municipalities of small towns are not the same people that are making decisions in Vancouver. So, what has been some of your struggles? Is it more difficult to do what you do because it's a small town? And what kind of pointers do you have for other people that want to start this up in other small cities across the country?
I think a lot of the problem basically is dealing with the city. Oh, shoot, sorry.
That's a nice ring.
Sorry about that. Dealing with bylaws and running across walls every time we try to do something, but we just stick with it and eventually we figure out a way around them. But I don't know, that's the biggest, in my eyes, that's the biggest problem anyway.
Well,
With the city, yeah.
Well, I think I'd like to speak to that.
Yes,
Can I
please.
speak to that, Giuseppe?
Of course you can, yeah.
Yeah, so from my experience, just coming to different community dialogue tables and learning what some of the struggles and social barriers are. And so I come in the last 6 months, and also I've been around. And so, and I think every small town or every community, they have their barriers, they have their struggles, and they also have, with the COVID and the pandemic, lots of organizations kind of like put the brakes on their services and then that also became another problem. So in the last 6 months, we've had to go out to the people and to find the people. And that's where the collaboration of me showing up at some tables, advocating for people's rights, the bylaws, morals, ethics, and learning the lay of the land here in Abbotsford. And what's exciting about going against all odds. And I said, well, nobody's going to tell me no. And that's when we rolled up in my car and we started working out of the back of the trunk of my car. Yeah. And having all these hygiene products and having women, especially the sex trade workers, they're out in community. They need condoms, they need hygiene wipes. And what was really distressing for me and really humbling, and last time when I said this, I cried. It was really humbling being a 52-year-old woman looking for other women to give them sanitary so they can keep their bird baths out in the street or try to, and then when we found location here and secured the space to Trinity Memorial Church, Reverend Bill was amazing. He let us in. And he let me work from his parking lot, and the girls showed up and we were doing foot spas and this and that. So we built a fire and they came. And the next thing you know, you give me an inch, I take a mile. We're indoors now. And now that we have toilets, right? And Darren's laughing, of course you did. And so what has happened is that now that we're indoors and we're building on this community, and then we started healing relationships with the city. The city gave us $35,000.
Good
right?
for Abbotsford.
So we're starting to restore right relationships in the community, and then going out and doing other things and collaborating with other people like McDonald's, right? And the other churches, and then finding other peers. And so building on peer capacity. And then, so this is the first time anything's been done like this in Abbotsford, peer driven, peer run. And what's really inspiring is that people here are helping other people. It's like that therapeutic value. Yeah, I was told that I brought recovery to harm reduction. It was like the best compliment ever. So it just, so that inspires with me and building on other peers, looking for other peers. And so here we are from Monday to Thursday. We're here at Trinity Memorial Church. And this is where the leadership comes. Brad gets a leadership role. He finds purpose. Holly gets a leadership role. She finds purpose. Andrea gets a leader. So what we're doing here is creating more leaders and building them up, and to know that they have everything inside of them, that they can go out in community and connect with other folks, and to know that nobody's alone and that everybody has the right to recover. We all know that I love that message and that the possibility and finding all pathways. So thank you for the opportunity. And what's really amazing is having a boss like Brian, because Brian lets me do what I need to do. And if he needs to wheel me in, he wheels me in. Giuseppe's laughing. So what does Darren have to say? I can't wait.
Man, I'm just like going off that ringtone. Like, you guys are bad to the bone. I think that's been, one of my biggest purposes on doing this show and having so many conversations is to bring that gap between recovery and harm reduction out of the picture. You know what I mean? I truly believe harm reduction and the services and everything you guys are doing are in the spectrum of recovery. It's the same. It's just maybe at a different beginning. You know, like if harm reduction is, if Brad's an example of harm reduction, like what's the problem? You know what I mean? The guy's sitting there, like, you sound great, you're making great points. You know, the purpose.
You got a nice hat.
You bring a dignity to the people in the streets, that like the forgotten, you know, and like Strathcona Park, Oppenheimer Park, the downtown east side, the Missions, you know, Chilliwack. It's just like these places where people get pushed to just sort of get out of the way of regular society, and regular society bitches and complains why they don't just get clean or get their asses together or whatever they're saying, you know, and nobody's doing anything about it. And then to hear, you know, you guys is like, you know, purpose and beginning, and the fact that you're teaching how to deal with these situations, and the people that you give them dignity, and they start to make choices that get them a little bit step higher and a little bit step higher, and then they want to do the same for somebody else. It's amazing, you know. So
Amazing.
thank you guys. I hope a lot more people that with, you know, the power and abilities can start funding, you know, people like you guys to, you know, to help out in the way that truly helps out.
Yeah, like getting access to a source of power is pretty important, right? Like, you know, and I believe that, you know, that energy does spread, like, you know, especially during the holidays, right? Like, you know, it's such a, you know, a desperate time for some people. And it really is a really nice segue to, you know, to provide some love and just spread that, you know, that positive energy. I personally, I you know, put it in a different sense, but like, you know, for the secular world, it's like, you know, it's a really awesome segue, right? You know, and it doesn't have to be uncomfortable for people to, you know, it's social distancing in mind, and you know, keeping ourselves, you know, obviously as safe as we possibly can. We do try to get in the trenches, and one thing I wanted to mention really quick though is the question that you asked Giuseppe about, like, a little context with this community in particular is, like, just before we you know, before we got off onto some other important topics that we would love to provide insight, but this community has had a longstanding history of being a very heavy conservative demographic, and the unfortunate thing is like, we've got like 2,000 churches here, and yet we still have
2,000 churches?
There's like,
200.
I'm
Oh,
exaggerating.
200. Okay. All right, 200. Perfect. Yeah. Even
Man, it
that's a
sounds
lot.
different now.
Yeah. Even that's a lot. Yeah.
It seems like there's like quite a few organizations that are purportedly, you know, there for, you know, what would seem to be, you know, to love and love thy neighbor. But unfortunately, what happens is, like, there is like this huge dichotomy with people not understanding what, you know, it's the misinformation, right? There has been a lot of opposition with getting our foot in the door. Amanda has done some amazing things with beating down doors for us. It's a teamwork. Like, it's been a collaboration that's been a long time coming. I personally have been forced to move 30 times in 30 days as a person on the street. I've had to pack up my things every day and move, and it was a very, very draining ordeal. And it just, you know, and me along with like several other people kind of communalized, and now we have found a community that's getting, you know, we're indoors, like some of us, like I found housing, and you know, and some of us haven't, but we are all a community and we're equals, and that's the important thing, right? So
Well,
I just want to say the stigmatization has been, like, you know, difficult, like finding places for people to, you know, to have a dignified, you know, hygiene, you know, access to, like, you know, basic fundamental things, right? I believe in capitalism in the sense that, you know, like, we got to work to sustain ourselves, but I believe in helping our brother that's sick too, you know? And I think we have a
and I
duty and a
think one of the
responsibility.
things that we all need to do is we all eat, like, not only is healthcare siloed, this is my belief, but so is advocacy. it's like the harm reduction people are advocating for harm reduction. The recovery people are advocating for recovery. The medication people are advocating for medication. It's like, I wish we would all go in one room and advocate for everything all together. And it's like, if somebody, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody says to you, hey, I'm done using today, I
Mhm.
want to go to rehab, like, what do?
I get them into rehab.
Do you get them in
Yeah,
within
yeah.
10 minutes though?
I make my phone calls. I know I'm
Yeah.
connected. I know what to do. I have some really great relationships in the community. And I think that's what it's all about. And then also having the resources. And I've been blessed along the way to have people to mentor me and to teach me and to know how to help people. And I think that's the education. Back to what you're saying, Giuseppe, it's really important to educate. So the more that I can learn about what I need to do, the more that I can teach others. And yeah, I'm the first on the phone. And with that said, the drug war survivors were all given a phone recently for those opportunities to help people to phone detox, to get on a waiting list, and we pay for it. So their phones are operational, they're good to go, they're used out in the community. And so, yeah, I just saw that you moved your hand.
So we got a couple minutes left. Website, how can people support you? What do you need?
Yeah.
Well, you mean you want to give me money? You want money? I think,
Volunteers, clothing, Christmas
Oh, so-
gifts.
okay, so this is it. I've been doing it on Facebook. This is our boutique behind us. Donations are great. The recovery community has donated very kindly to us. So thank you. I just want to give like a shout out to a few of the folks, the service providers and the church here. So we have our naloxone training. We have our harm reduction. We have our memorial, our overdose memorial by our Christmas tree. And I'm always open to the gift that keeps on giving. But there's one thing that I will say before we close in that 1 hour. I promised that for 1 hour in people's lives, that they're not going to live a secondhand life. And that was what I give them here. And that's what we do here. So we're known for our signature sandwiches. And
Nice.
I will spend the extra dollar to get the best of everything for the folks. I'm not looking for 2 for 1, but I will stretch that dollar for a quality sandwiches instead of a bunch of quantity processed stuff. So that was like the model that I want because yeah, we got lots of hundreds of dollars that are going out for harm reduction. But there's also, we're a full human being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And in order to have a healthy body, to have a healthy mind, and a lot of people have compromised immune systems. So yeah, I'll spend that money and give them the best of the best for 1 hour.
The website is drugwarsurvivors.com.
Yeah.
You can go to their Instagram page, their Facebook page, Drug Wars Survivor Abby. You can just search that up. And obviously you can go in the link on our Facebook page and it will link to talkrecoveryradio.com. So all the links are there for you to connect with Amanda and her team. Really appreciate you being on the show, Amanda, and to the rest of the team there. Thank you very much. Brad, congratulations. Congratulations to everybody that's trying to make change in their life and trying to find purpose and educating people about that. To be honest with you, before I started my recovery journey, my purpose was to find means and ways to get more. And that was it. What other purpose do I need in life? Fast forward, years later, who would have thought there's more to life? And if substance use is what you want to continue doing, then obviously, you have a right to do that and just be safe. And if you choose to make some changes, there's opportunities out there. I just wish there wasn't any wait list to get to those opportunities.
Absolutely.
But let's all work together on making some noise for that. Darren, any final notes?
Big shout out to you guys. There's always somebody doing the stuff that no one is really willing to do, and I mean, you guys are doing that, and if this is just the beginning, I can't wait to see what comes out. So yeah,
thank you very much.
Survivors, and we're here to discover new ways to work and thrive. Instead of surviving, we're trying to find a way to actually have some lasting joy, because I truly do enjoy what I do now. I love it, and we all do.
And if you're from Abbotsford, you know, and you have a son or daughter or loved one that's out there on the streets, stop by this church Monday to Thursdays and try to get your loved one connected to these people. And that's how it all starts, through connection. You're listening to Talk Recovery Radio every Thursday on 100.5 FM and here on Facebook Live, powered by New West Recovery, Canada's recovery community. 7 years of shows, hundreds of guests, and thousands of listeners. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're out of time.
Love you
Next
guys.
Thursday, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.